Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. So I intend to do a reaction video in this video, but I'm not sure how long this video will be holding up. Now it's already losing focus. So the issue is with my Handycam here, there are some dust or moisture that is affecting the lens. So I'm not sure, I'm not sure whether I should do it this close. It seems that this is, now it's okay, but I noticed that just a few minutes in, the focus will be already terrible. So if you know how to deal with either moisture or dust on the lens, I do not want to do something that will scratch the lens, because that is how the previous Handycam I have to buy this one, where the camera is still okay, but the lens, when it is affected, then is useless, right? Because you cannot even see what's being recorded, because it's failed to focus. In this video, I'll be watching and reacting to a video titled Mom Reacts to 10 Surprising Facts About Jesus in Islam. This is by Sonny Faz channel. Without further ado, okay, now you can see the focus is, should I do it like this? Without further ado, let's watch.
Jesus, of course, is a central figure of Christianity since he's viewed as divine. However, although not seen in the...
Okay, so I guess this channel, him with his mom is watching. This is Leroy, right? I think this is from FTD Facts.
exact same light as the Christian view, Jesus is still a very important figure in the Islamic faith. Welcome back to another episode of FTD Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton, and in this episode I'm bringing you 10 surprising and interesting facts about Jesus inside of the religion of Islam. Starting off at number 10. So as you look throughout the Quran, Jesus is identified as a prophet of God, and he was sent to the Jews who had over time believed to have deviated from the teachings of Moses as well as other prophets. There's a time also when Jesus said, "Children of Israel, I am the messenger of God sent to you confirming the Torah, which came before," and that's in the Quran Surah 61 verse 6. Jesus is believed to be the last in line of the Jewish prophets.
Okay, the format here, normally when I do this, I put the video here, right? So meaning that the biggest screen is on me and the video that I'm watching is smaller. But there are another format where the one that is reacting is like this one is in a smaller video. I'm not sure whether if I put this video here, whether the reaction, the reactor becomes too small. Okay, now they're losing focus yet again. I'm not sure which format is better. I noticed that I'm watching more on Leroy than the reactor.
And he lived according to the Torah, which is the law of Moses, as well as he taught his followers to do the same. Also, the next thing to know is that the Prophet Muhammad is only mentioned a total of 4 times in the Quran, while Jesus, however, is mentioned 25 times by name. Not a lot of people know that. Now, while Jesus is reckoned as the...
I thought like the whole book was about him. How does that even make any sense?
Muhammad?
Yeah.
It was by Muhammad. It was about God.
But he only mentioned
Muhammad
himself.
was the prophet who got all the messages from God and wrote it all down.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. The mother knows more than the guy, because the mother, the way she said it.
God.
But he only mentioned. How does that even
About
make any
who?
sense?
Muhammad?
Yeah.
It was by Muhammad. It was about God.
But he only mentioned
Muhammad
himself.
was the prophet who got all the messages from God and wrote it all down.
You're right.
Yeah, Muhammad didn't wrote it down, but the concept is, meaning Muhammad is just relaying from God, right? I think the guy, if you reflect to the Bible, right, because the Bible is mostly written by people about Jesus, especially if we're talking about New Testament. So obviously Jesus will be talk a lot. It is like hadith, where in hadith it's mostly the companions relaying what Prophet Muhammad SAW said or do. Hence it's always about Prophet Muhammad SAW. You can, if you go into hadith, Muhammad SAW will be mentioned a lot. So the Bible, the New Testament is like that, right? So if you assume Quran is like the New Testament, then you are thinking of hadith, not the Quran actually.
Yeah.
I should have known.
So where the New Testament, none of it was written by Jesus. It was all written by other people. So that's why it's all Jesus all the time, because they're talking about someone else.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, exactly, right. So
Now, while Jesus is recognized as the Son of God in the Bible, the Quran, however, uses other titles for Jesus, but it doesn't use the term Son of God. It uses titles like the Messenger of God, the Word of God, Son of Mary. Even at one point, it uses the term the Spirit from God. Now, on top of that, Jesus is referred more than any other person in the Quran next to Moses, but not all mentions are by name. Instead, some of these references just use a term like Messiah and Son of Mary and things like that. Another popular Muslim...
I didn't even, this is all just weird to me, because I didn't even know the Quran was a book until like 6 months ago, and I didn't, hearing about it, I never would have thought Jesus would have been inside of it. I would have always just thought it's like this completely random new religion. You know what I
was
mean?
only one small step ahead of you in knowing that the Quran existed, but I absolutely did not know. And the only thing I'd heard through the years is what the news media will feed us, especially after September 2001, is all the horrible stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting that, well, if you are not exposed or interact with the outside world, I guess it is common, it's normal for those who don't even know anything about other religion, right? For example, I do think that there are religion outside that I don't even know anything about, whether they have a book or not, etc. Right? And I have watched videos about Jainism, for example, where I have never heard of it before. Someone suggested that video.
Or the twisted, how a certain very small sect of terrorists who happen to be Muslim, also how they twisted the Quran. Those are the only things we ever heard out of the Quran at all.
Literally, when I would think Muslim, I think like it's bad, but this is what it's like shown. I think like Iran, women can't do anything, bombs. That's just like what I would think.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy though?
It's sad.
No,
it's
but
really
I'm
just no. I'm not. No judgment on you. It's just sad that it's another example of what we talk about all the time. How the media just fills our head with bullshit that isn't true. Why they would want to do that. Again, maybe it's just another way to keep us divided. Just one more way. Get us to make sure that we never become friends with the Muslims in this country. Let's keep them outside, because if we become friends with them, we might actually realize we have a lot in common, and we might be able to, get together and be a force for good.
It's crazy.
But instead, it's better that we just hate each other. Oh my God. But you're so right. Those things. Now, I don't think all those things, what did you say? Bombs and
like women can't do anything.
So when I think about,
because that's what it's like.
But I don't think when I think of that, I think of the Taliban. Like, they've been a really bad, but they're a political group.
But I feel like the way the media has it, they've just like mixed those two together.
Absolutely.
That's why
when they say Taliban, they always say Muslim, Muslim, Muslim. So they make it seem bad. And they've done that to Christians in this country in recent years. I mean, you can really look in the news, and there is just shitting on Christians. Constant. And, again, it's just another way to keep us divided. And if you demonize groups of people, they become scary. So now the Muslims are scary. To the liberals, the Christians are scary.
And all you have to do is follow the liberal ideology. And that's like a whole religion in itself, is following that shit.
That's the craziest of all the religions, right?
Don't follow any of this stuff that people have been following for thousands of years to be happy. Follow us.
Okay, real quick. So, I go on Twitter, just started Twitter recently, and I'll make one comment, and oh my God, I'm more conservative, right? So the liberals just come after me. I mean, name calling me. What was that? I was called trailer trash, stupid. This is just in the last 24 hours. Something maybe, shouldn't have been born. Like, just mean shit that people are saying. And so since we started doing these videos, and particularly these, just to talk about Islam, I have gotten such lovely messages. Everybody on here, I'm over here and I'm butchering it. I'm butchering the whole thing. I'm asking questions. I don't know anything about this religion. I know more than I did a week ago, hey? But none of them are coming at me going, you ignorant,
no, exactly.
You dumb, ignorant broad, go educate yourself. They're all saying, I'm getting all these messages and thousands of comments saying thank you for having this conversation and being kind about it. Like, how bad have they been treated by Americans that they have to even say thank you for just being decent? Like, I'm embarrassed and I'm sad about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
These people are so freaking nice to me. And my own American white, Judeo-Christian countrymen are calling me the most horrible names because I disagree with them on something. Anyway.
It's wild. And like, I'm here legit saying the truth. I'm here saying what I've honestly thought for a while, and then I get thousands of DMs like, if you have any questions, brother, feel free to reach out. It's crazy. It's just like, I've never seen anything like it in my life, so it's pretty cool.
You ignorant asshole. That's what they say, the Americans. It's terrible.
But I think they're smarter because like they recognize why I think that. You know what I mean? So like me saying the truth, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. You think that because it's like what the media portrays. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, what was just being said there is interesting because it comes, from their own experience of, we are a product of what we are exposed to, right? We cannot deny that, So the preconceived judgment that we have onto others is based on the information that is being given to us before we even meet the others, right? So it happens all around the world, including, surrounding myself. I can see my people in my country, in my religion, that think certain ridiculous things about others as well, some of them, right?
it's kind of nice, huh?
Oh yeah.
View is that out of all the prophets and messengers of God, Jesus is the only messenger who received the title of Messiah. And that's also found in the Quran. Now the term can be translated as the anointed one, and the phrase in Arabic, al-Masih, also refers to the role of Jesus in the end times in Islam. But most of the information about Jesus' role in the end times is found in the Hadith, which are the records of Islamic traditions and sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, and not actually in the Quran itself. Now the next thing to know is that not
Wait,
just
what was that?
Christians...
So there's other writings that are not in the that Muhammad wrote that are not the Quran. Is that what he just said? Because this guy is just educating us really fast. I feel like I'm not in Islam 101 anymore.
Islam 102. I think that's what he said. Yeah. Go on.
Not just Christians believe that Jesus was born of a virgin. So when you go back to the birth of Jesus, Muslims believe that Jesus was born of the Virgin Mary in a miraculous birth, which was a miracle by God. It's also interesting to note that inside of the Quran, Jesus actually talks while he's in a cradle, like as a baby. It says this, then she, Mary, pointed to him, and they said, how can we talk to one who is a child in the cradle? He, Jesus, said, verily, I am a slave of God. He has given me the scriptures and made me a prophet. And that's in Quran Surah 19.
So the baby said that? That's okay. So this is a whole new thing that I've never heard before. Did you know that baby Jesus could talk in the cradle?
No.
Like,
I didn't know that. I mean, you can walk on water and shit, so that's not the craziest thing I've heard.
No, and I believe all the things. I believe that she was a virgin, and I believe that her cousin Elizabeth gave birth to John the Baptist. She was very old, in her 80s or 90s when she did that. I believe in all of the miracles and all of his power. And
so how do you differentiate?
But now I have to wrap my head around talking baby. I'm sorry.
How do you differentiate what's known as like, what is it, myth, where it's like the Adam and Eve story and stuff like that, and what's like actual facts to not be interpreted?
This is a question for a far more advanced theologian, or a theologian at all. But there has to be some faith involved in all of this. But
because it just sounds like it. Like I don't know. That just sounds crazy. But I mean, I guess there's been crazier shit that happens. But like, does he have like a baby voice when he's talking?
I want to watch again. I'm going to bring up the movie The Case for Christ, and I actually think you and I should just sit down and watch it and get it over with, so that you can understand my thinking on how Lee Strobel went out of his way to prove that God didn't exist and ended up finding him. And a lot of it was because of more eyewitness accounts and more physical data, more medical understanding, things that happened during Jesus' life that proved that it could not have been a farce, that the resurrection was real. So I think that you have to really dig and do the research. And then that other video we watched, where we were like watching all the things that Muhammad said that had tremendous scientific knowledge that didn't come out for thousands of years later. You know, so there's actual. How do you dispute that? Everything he said is a coincidence, you know? So or is there really God involved? I don't know if that answers your question, but I feel like if I understood your question correctly.
It is interesting to see, the standpoint of the mother, at least, where she is convinced of, the so-called proof for Christianity, while at the same time she's pointing out about the miracle that is pointed by the previous video about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How can you dispute that? Can all of those being coincidence, right? So that is interesting. Of course, the information, I would assume, about Islam, about the proof of Islam, is very, very new to them. Hence, I wonder, if this prolongs, if they keep watching videos about Islam, especially the one that, prove that Islam is the truth, etc. What is the evidence behind it? How will it shape, her mind, especially because she seems to be very perceptive in terms of that. At least because this is the first video I watch of them, so that's how my perception is from watching this.
9 to 30. Now, I don't know about you guys, but prophet or not, sign from God or not, miracle or not, I don't care. If I see a talking baby, it's a wrap. Like, I'm gone, guys. Also, Jesus is no...
Yeah, I think that's... Okay. Anyway, I'll just keep talking. I think that's one thing about... Because they say in the Bible, the issue of Mary giving birth to Jesus is not resolved, in the sense that how will the society accept her after that happened, right? So how this the story goes after Mary got pregnant, Jesus was born. How did Mary and Jesus is accepted by the society? Of course, according to the Quran, that resolves it, where when Jesus talked as a baby, the society, there's nothing you can say about, keep accusing Mary of anything. And that's a miracle after miracle, right? Meaning a miracle that justifies the miracle, because the virgin birth is a miracle. However, people perspective or perception, it is as they do not accept it as a miracle. They assume something negative, right? So when the miracle of Jesus talking from the cradle, that miracle justify that miracle, right? So from the Christian perspective, I'm not sure, or the Bible perspective, I'm not sure how that story proceed on, to resolve the issue of how did the society keep on talking bad about Mary throughout, or I don't know.
Known for performing many miracles, not
But
just talking in
you're going to
creative-
go tell everyone who you ever met, and that's probably what happened. Like, did he talk to the wise men when they came to bring the presents? And he was like, "Oh, you didn't have to bring frankincense. It was so nice of you."
The Quran says in Surah 5 verse 110, "Behold, I taught you the book and wisdom, the law and the gospel, and behold, you make out of clay, as it were, the figure of a bird by my leave, and you breathe into it, and it becomes a bird by my leave, and you heal those born blind, and the lepers by my leave, and behold, you bring forth the dead by my leave." So those are multiple miracles that Jesus was able to perform according to the Quran. Now let's talk about Jesus in the end times according to popular Muslim belief. So in the end times, Jesus is actually going to declare Islam to be the true religion, and all of the Christians will convert at the time. So all other religions will be eliminated, but the earth is going to experience peace. Like even the animal kingdom is going to experience peace. Crops and wildlife and everything is just going to be super flourishing. And for this time period, there's going to be no wars. It's just going to be complete peace. However, this reign of Jesus is believed to just last only 40 years. And during that time, he'll go to Mecca regularly to perform the pilgrimage. It's also believed that he's going to have children and then eventually pass away and buried in Medina next to the Prophet Muhammad. Now again, that's not the blanket belief of the Muslims. It's just based on a popular school of thought. All right, 2 more facts left. The Prophet Muhammad is often seen by non-Muslims as the equivalent to Jesus when you compare it to Christianity. However, according to the Quran, Muslims believe that Jesus is not greater or better than the Prophet Muhammad, and also that the Prophet Muhammad isn't greater or better than Jesus. As a matter of fact, no prophet is greater than any other prophet. They're just prophets that God sent to fulfill a certain purpose, and that's pretty much it. And the final thing is when we look
Just like God's little minions.
Yeah, no prophet is greater than any other prophet. Sure, there are plenty of prophets that just didn't make a big splash. I mean, Jesus, Moses, those are biggies. Muhammad, biggie.
Maybe in the eyes of God, it's different, G.
John the Baptist was a big one, but not nearly as big as Jesus. I just,
crucifixion of Jesus, Muslims believe according to the Quran that Jesus was not crucified. Rather, it appeared that he was crucified and that instead of being buried, he was actually taken up from the cross and God brought him to heaven. Now, the Quran doesn't necessarily explain who that person was that was actually crucified that looked like Jesus. They believe that it appeared to be Jesus, but there's no real detail about who that other person was. You can find this in the Quran in Surah 4 verses 157. It said, "They did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but another was made to resemble him to them." And also it says in Surah 4 verses 158, "God lifted him up to his presence. God is almighty, all wise." All right, guys, so that was a brief
there
look
was
at
this
Jesus
guy,
in
Barnabas, and he was there at Jesus' crucifixion, and they were some group of people, I'm butchering this, were trying to get him to like let the Romans like take him and spare Jesus, and they didn't. So maybe that's what happened, is what they're saying. But again, there was tremendous evidence that it was Jesus.
Do you think if I read the Quran, it'll be like,
So that is interesting. According to the Quran, it just said that it is made to appear as such, right? It doesn't explicitly say, the verse itself, it doesn't explicitly say that someone else is taking place. It just that, meaning, so from that perspective, meaning that from the perspective, from the verse of the Quran, it is made to appear as such. So meaning that if you take it and you take the eyewitness account that says that we witnessed Jesus was crucified, that doesn't contradict each other, because if truly God make it as appear as such and people observe it and testify that they see it as such, God make it appear as such to them, and that's what they believe as an eyewitness, right?
reading Shakespeare where I'm just like I have no idea what's going on? Or do you think I'll actually, because even reading the Bible, I'm like I'm just lost.
Yeah,
You
that's
know what
why
I mean?
that's why I just made that big sigh, because I love understanding the Bible, and I love hearing the verses, right, as explained by a really a vibrant pastor, or a show like The Chosen where they're really playing it out. But just reading it is excruciating. I can't. I've tried several times in my life, so I don't know if the Quran is as heavy duty as that.
It's never changed. Like the
Yeah, that is interesting, because if they actually try to read the Quran, I would love to see how they perceive, the experience of reading it in comparison. Because I think one thing is the language, the author, etc., have a big influence in terms of why it becomes as such, right? For the Bible, especially.
Quran has literally never changed, and it's been the same language forever. So you think it would be easier.
Why?
I
What
guess
makes
maybe
you
that
think
makes
the
it
language?
harder.
But that's what makes it harder. I mean, I don't think
maybe.
whatever Bible I've ever picked up, even the Bibles for dummies,
2022
yeah.
updated Jesus Bible.
the Urban Dictionary Bible, which
Yeah.
actually somebody should write because maybe that would help. So
Don't kill babies. Be a good person. Don't go burning down stores. Like, oh, it all makes sense now.
that was cool. That last part, I'm not jiving with. That he
is there
wasn't
more?
really resurrected. That he wasn't really the one killed. But
As always,
I would, of course, be happy to be. I'd love to hear a Muslim scholar and a Christian scholar. I'd love to hear them have that conversation and put all the information on the table and then perhaps politely debate it.
So fascinating. All right, thank you for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button to keep watching more. There's a lot more of these types of videos coming, so make sure you follow along and follow us on Instagram.
I just want to say thanks to everybody that is watching for sending, just sending so much love and also sending me. I've been getting some YouTube links from people
I've
saying,
gotten,
"Look at this."
1,000
And
links.
I know, but I'm trying to watch them, and learn as I go. So I do appreciate them, and I am reading them and trying to click them.
All right, so that's the end. I'm not sure if anyone is still actually watching until this point. If you are, just if anyone is actually watching to this point, just comment in the comment section, says, "Oh my god, so blurry," or something like that, so that I know that someone actually watched until the end. Although I'm not sure whether someone actually will write that as well, even though they watch only the first 2 minutes, because it's already blurred. Or you can write, because if you want to indicate you are still watching and then until the end, just write, "Oh my god, so clear, there's nothing as clear as this video, crystal clear," or something. I hope I can find some solution to this. If you have some solution, good solution, please do share. Thank you for watching. See you next time.